Alright guys, I'm back. This will be the second part of the LWRC review, which is this gun right here. This gun right here is actually my my first AR that I ever built. It's a DI, it's a Spikes Tactical. I mean, I'll go over that too, probably in another video. But I have this one here to do some comparisons to the LWRC SPR right here, especially when I talk about the bolt and compare the nickel boron processes between the two. I actually like the Spikes Tactical nickel boron coating that they do, but I'm telling you, it doesn't compare to the LWRC coating that they use. So just stand by, we'll get into it. Okay, so here's just a real quick comparison of the two bolts. This one up here is the Spikes Tactical and the one below is the LWRC. One thing I do want to point out is when it locks into battery. With the LWRC, if you just pull it back slightly, it goes in every single time. I mean, there's no... The locking lugs don't bind up or anything. While with the Spikes and a lot of DI guns, you'll see the stoppage right there. And you just have to use the forward assist to close it into battery. Now, I'm not sure if that's just a DI trait or if it's just coatings that certain bolt carrier groups and bolts have. But I know that the Colts that have the black phosphate coating, they still do the exact same thing that the Spikes does. So I'm not sure if it's a DI trait or if it's just the coating that LWRC has is just outstanding, because I love that it slides into battery every single time. Alright, so here's a side-by-side comparison of the two bolts. The one on the bottom is the LWRC, and the one on the top is the Spikes Tactical. Both of these have their nickel boron coating. The LWRC, however, has their Nicor treatment as well. And I can definitely tell a difference between the LWRC and the Spikes Tactical. While they're both very, very smooth, and they've both been treated with the frog lube treatment, I can still tell that the LWRC bolt is a lot smoother. It's just a lot nicer. Both bolts and bolt carriers are mil spec. They both have markings, but the LWRC is actually a grade higher than mil spec. So if you're one of those people who absolutely love mil spec, but you want something better, then the LWRC is probably the way to go if you're looking for a long-term reliability. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with Spikes and the treatment that they do on theirs. And mil spec is mil spec. It's gonna work. You'll see on the bolt that it's staked very, very nicely. The bolt itself is actually pressure tested, magnetic tested. It has the markings saying so. The only marking that the LWRC has is the P right there. You can kind of see it. But the bolt itself isn't actually the same coating as the BCG, as you can tell. Why is that? I'm not exactly sure. But one thing I do like about the LWRC bolt is that it's enlarged here at the end to get rid of any bolt tilt that you may have. I don't know if it works or not, because it actually cycles so smooth that I wouldn't be able to tell. So here is the actual comparison. Both full auto bolts, and they work. The Spikes rifle that this one goes on was, as I said earlier, it was my first AR build. It works. I've only had one malfunction. It was failure to extract. But once you just rack the charging handle, I mean, it extracted and ejected fine. So I don't know what the deal was, but it was PMC ammo, so it wasn't necessarily poor quality. But the coating that the Spikes Tactical bolt has, the nickel boron, is also on the enhanced trigger group that I got for the AR, which I'll go ahead and bring that in here. Now this is their nickel boron as well. I actually like the Spikes Tactical trigger more than I like the LWRC trigger. It just feels smoother to me. And I've shot these side by side, and I like the Spikes a lot better than I do the LWRC. Here is the LWRC. It has their same coating. It's still just as smooth. I mean, it definitely works. It's a mil-spec trigger, but I just think that the Spikes is just a cleaner shooting, trigger-wise, rifle. Alright, so as I go further in depth of the LWRC, one thing I want to talk about is the weight, and mostly because it's this proprietary barrel nut. You'll see all these screws right here, and that's because it's the barrel nut. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's 10 of these little screws for the barrel nut. I mean, it adds a lot of weight, but you know that this thing isn't going to come off. It's going to stay put on there. While on the Spikes, I decided to go with just a standard barrel nut and the Troy Alpha Rail. And I just put on a BCM standard barrel nut. But I can tell like a little bit of wobble. This thing does have a little bit of play, but not much. Not much at all. Now, if this was going to be your primary weapon overseas, I would probably go with something that would have a proprietary barrel nut. But the whole reason for this build was lightweight. I mean, I actually built this for a female shooter who is just getting into shooting, and she wants something that very, very lightweight. So that's why I went with this. If you guys want to know more about this rifle, just let me know. Leave a comment or something, and I'll do a full review of this rifle and how I kept it so light. Because it's feather light. But that is one thing about the LWRC is the barrel nut right here. That's where it gets a lot of weight on the front. I mean, you're obviously going to have weight problems because it's piston anyways. I think that's why they went with the 12-inch rail instead of the 13. So if you were to compare the Troy Alpha rail to this, I mean, you can see that it's a little longer right up here. But I mean, it's just an inch. It's not bad. Do I wish it was longer? Yeah, I actually do. Only because I like getting my support hand all the way forward as I can. I would have it to the end of the muzzle device if I could. But since this is going in depth, I'll go ahead and show you guys the piston system. And all I did here is I unscrewed these two screws. And you'll see these silver bars on the inside. And they just lock into there. All you do is pull it forward, lift up, and it comes off. I mean, and this is the piston system. If you guys have an older LWRC M6, my first LWRC was an M6A2 that I bought in 2009. The piston system is a little different. The piston rod itself is the same. The cup right here is the same. The only thing different is the spring housing right here. It was a little different, but other than that, I mean, it was fine. And this one here is actually longer than the previous because the bolt, the LWRC bolt, you'll see that it's cut off flush right here, while the other ones went forward just a little bit more. So that's where you get most of your weight from, even though the barrel is spiral fluted. It does get rid of some weight, but this is where you're going to find most of your weight. Another thing I wanted to go over with the LWRC is the coating that you can get. Now, this is actually the Cerakoting. If you saw my first video, this is the Cerakoting of their FDE. But the previous M6A2 that I had just had their plain black finish. It wasn't Cerakoted. It was whatever finish that they used, whatever brand name. It held up pretty decent. I mean, I had a couple scratches on it, nothing major. I mean, it held up. But having the Cerakoting option straight from the factory is definitely a plus. Because with the spikes up here, there's definitely, I mean, you can tell, I mean, you can see a little bit of shining right here, and then that was from the factory. So, I mean, is it bad? No, I don't care. Any weapon that you have is a tool. It's going to get banged up. I don't care that it's got chips or whatever. But if that's important to you, then that's something to think about as well. If you're going to go away from LWRC, either because of price or piston or whatever theory that you have about going away from this particular rifle. Because this is what this video is. It's just a quick overview of the LWRC in depth. Now you can also see something that's different from here is the selector lever. and how it's got an arrow. Not a lot of people do that. Is it a big deal? No, not really. But it does differentiate LWRC from other manufacturers that just have like a little line, like the Colts, and just any general safety selector. And another thing on the LWRC, and this is with a bunch of rifles, they don't have any takedown right here for the trigger guard that allows you to move it and flip it to the side if you're wearing gloves. I know that a lot of the Colts issued to the military have that. I was stationed in a place where it snowed a lot, and when I say a lot, I'm saying 8-9 months out of the year. So this was, I mean, that was a very big deal for us. So if you live in a cold climate where you shoot a lot with gloves and you were thinking about buying this, I mean, this should be a concern for you if you shoot a lot with gloves, or thick gloves, I'm saying. Regular mechanics gloves or Oakley gloves or whatever you use will be fine. But that, I wouldn't want to take this somewhere in a cold climate where I couldn't remove this. Alright, so getting back to the LWRC, there's really not a lot of difference between this and any other rifle. Now, if you don't have the funds to go ahead and purchase one of these rifles, or if you don't have anyone or if you don't know anyone who has one, you can't try it out, then you know what, that's all right. You're not going to be at a disadvantage if you don't have this particular rifle. The spikes that I've been comparing the LWRC to, it's a fine rifle. It definitely works. It's super light because of the configuration that I have on it. Like I said before, if you guys want to know exactly what I did to it, how I got it so light, just leave a comment or send me a message or something, and I'll, if I get enough, I'll go ahead and make a video about it. But there's nothing wrong with them. So, I mean, one of the major differences is probably going to be quality control. LWRC has outstanding quality control. But with components that I've put on this, just for an example, the spikes bolt that I have was a little bit out of spec, but if you guys deal with spikes at all, their customer service, John, shout out to you. Spikes does an outstanding job with customer service. They talk to you right then and there. You're talking to a live person. Spikes Tactical, those people there actually like guns. A lot of them shoot. So, and luckily for me, they're only like an hour and a half away from here. So I'm very, very, very pleased with this rifle. The person that I built this for is very, very pleased with it. But you will not be disappointed if you go another route than the LWRC SPR. Because that's what this video is about. I just want to give you guys a closer, in-depth look at it. It's a fine rifle, just if you don't have the funds or whatever, because that's usually why people don't even consider looking at an LWRC, is because they're so expensive. I mean, they're over $3 grand, and paying that much for an AR, some people just don't want to do it, and I could definitely blame them. It took me a long time to save up to actually get this rifle, but it is definitely my favorite AR for sure. So if you guys have any other questions about the rifle, just let me know. But before I go ahead and go, most of their components on the LWRC, like the pivot pin, the takedown pin, the selector lever, the magazine release, the ejection port cover, I mean, all that is just standard mil-spec stuff. More than likely it's probably made by another manufacturer and they just buy it, because it's so identical to other rifles that I've seen that I know make their own stuff that you can't even tell a difference. So even the bolt release is just plain mil-spec. That's good if you happen to buy this rifle and all of a sudden a part breaks. That way you don't have to go to LWRC for a part like you would with like an H&K product or something, since all their stuff's proprietary. But everything is mil-spec. Everything from their buffer tube to their castle nut, everything, all of it's mil-spec. And same with the Spikes rifle that I've been comparing this to. So, I mean, it's a great rifle, but is it worth the money? It's debatable. It depends what your purpose is for the rifle. I love that I've never had a malfunction in this rifle. I had a malfunction in the Spikes the first day that I shot it. So I mean, it's give and take. I can argue you get what you pay for, but I don't think that's a fair argument when it comes to weapon systems and a very small explosion happening in a very small space. So just weigh out what you got. If you guys have any questions, just shoot me a message. I've been shooting LWRCs since 2009, so just let me know, and I'll get back to you without a doubt. So, Steve from Tactical Pause. If you guys have another idea for the LWRC, if you want to see some torture tests, anything with this rifle, just let me know. Or if you guys want to compare, if you guys want an in-depth video of the spikes that I built for super lightweight. The person I built it for, she loves it. She's a smaller frame person. She's very petite, so she needed something very light, and that's why I built that one. But just let me know about the LWRC, and this will be the second and the last video for the LWRC unless I get more requests or anything. So, alright, that's it.